Hi, I'm Laurie Ridgeway. I'm here at Coiman Galleries to talk a little bit about maybe my painting journey and how I paint and what motivates me and how you would see me, I guess, in some of my paintings. I really do believe that when you're a painter, it's a combination of the tools you have and how you apply them, but most of painting is about the person. And it's who you are, it's how you learn and how you paint. And I would not paint how I paint if I didn't put in that time as a professional economist and policymaker in the government. It made who I am. It made me how I see, what I value and what I look at, how I think. My whole intellect that was formed during those 35 years is now in my paintings. Everything is chaotic, and my job and with my staff was to bring order to it and advise on it and come up with policies based on not ignoring chaos, but embracing it. And that's what I mean when I say, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't paint like I paint. Because I'm attracted to chaos, I'm attracted to busyness, but what I really want to do is make sense of it so that it's not visually overwhelming and it's not messy, but it really is, has some order and captivity to it. My process is to create as much chaos as I can at the beginning. So I will look at a reference, I understand its design, I've used some tools to give me an idea of the path of light and whatnot, but then I just scribble. I scribble and splash and drip and scrape until I have a mess. And then the whole painting process is about rescuing it back into something. And that's why hopefully there's unusual things in my paintings that you wouldn't expect to see there, because I've started with scribbles, and there's some scribbles I want to keep and there's some scribbles I get rid of, but it puts scribbles in places you wouldn't normally see them. And that's part of what excites me when you have this texture and a bit busyness, but it's all part of the whole thing. My process is very disorderly. I don't draw. It's just throw the paint on the canvas and as much mess as you can make it. And then that draws me away from my reference, because I have to react to that and not to the painting. And so I'm reacting to what I see on the canvas, not to what a reference. So that's why I'm a studio painter. I don't think you can do that easily in plein air. I think I'm a pretty well, what we call an all-over painter, in the sense that because I'm looking at pattern and I'm looking at light, I'm seeing everything all together. One thing isn't more important than the other thing. So it's an all-over approach, and it can get very, very chaotic. So I've thought a lot about how do I think about art? How do I think about painting? And the most important thing that organized it in my mind, and I can't get away from it, is I think of painting as music. I'm painting the feeling, I'm painting the rhythm, I'm painting the movement, I'm painting the melodies. And if you can do that, then you can make some sense out of all of the color, of all of the mess that you see in a landscape and in the near landscape that needs sorting out. I want to paint what I call a slow painting, as opposed to what I call a fast painting. Fast painting is a painting, in my mind, where you look at it, everything that it wants to say you see in one gulp, so to speak. You don't necessarily need to spend hours in front of it to understand it. You see it, you move on. I want to paint paintings where the longer you look at it, the more you see. Brian Rudenberg, who's an idol of mine, said once, "The eye told not what to see sees more." And I've got that firmly implanted in my thinking. And so when I'm painting, I very explicitly try and put things in my paintings that you don't see at first. You only see if you look at them for a long time. It might be the way I arrange shapes, it might be an unusual color, it might be the way I've got something tracking. And if you just walk by, you're not going to see it at all, but if you look at it a long time, you will see it. And so I paint very explicitly to have those little points of interest, that if you were to go there, you would have a little present. You'd have a little gift for having followed me to my points of interest. I'm not interested in this idea of a focal point. Your eye is zooming along a creek or, whatever, on a sidewalk, and a very strong focal point, and your eye goes straight to it, gets stuck there. And so I believe more in what I call points of interest, or places of interest. And that is where I design them very, very explicitly about how I want your eye to move. And so when I'm just trying to decide if a painting is finished, I ask myself, okay, where are my points of interest and what is the prize for getting there? And if I don't think that they're explicit enough, then I make those. And I can use color, I can use contrast, I can use edge, I can use shapes. And I usually have a little checklist of things that I want to go through to make sure that I've used all the tools that I have in color theory and otherwise to get people to find an interesting way of looking at a painting. The other thing I would say about the way I paint is I'm painting near landscapes. They don't have the traditional way of creating depth. So I'm not using linear perspective and I'm not using atmospheric perspective because there's not enough distance in my paintings, but I really do want depth. So I've learned from reading and from my mentors and from color theory in particular, the value of this concept of push and pull that Hans Hofmann was so famous for in the time of the New York School of Abstract Expressionists, because they were doing abstracts. And he said, push and pull is how you use color and how you use shape to pull things forward and push things back. It's the only tool that I have, because I'm doing near landscapes, that I can use in order to push things back and pull things forward. So it really makes me have to be a colorist because you can't do it otherwise. So that's kind of who I am when I paint, what motivates me, and that I hope other people can look at a painting and say, I never looked at it like that.